Welcome back to Iron Archery Outdoors, guys. So a lot of cool things going on. We have a mess of vanes here, a bunch of different styles, different materials, different stiffnesses, different lengths, different profiles. What do they all mean? And which ones are good and which ones are not so good? Mind you, I'm going to put this right now. Shoot whatever you want and shoot it with pride and shoot it with confidence. That's the biggest thing. A vane will never cover up a bad shot, period. Put that out there. So if a vane makes you a little more confident in your shot, shoot it, okay? So, first two I'm going to start out with is we got these two. Very, very, very popular. We got the A Max Stealth, and we got the A Hybrid 26. Same profile, different material. The Max Stealth's a little stiffer, and the Hybrid 26 is a little bit flimsier. It's a little bit lighter in the weight than the Max Stealth. Both of them steer butted good, but personally, I would run a Max Stealth. They're a little stiffer, so they will steer a little bit, a little bit better. But they are a little bit heavier on the return. So, but either one, they steer butted good. Max Stealth, a little bit better. A little bit more durable than the Hybrid 23 or 26. These have a tendency to tear fairly easy. I've torn a lot of these. Max Stealths I've tore too, but not as bad as the 26s, the hybrids. So that's that. The little buddies to those is your Max 23 and your Hybrid 23. Basically just a mini-me of these ones. A mini-me to that one are these guys. Okay, these are 2.6 inches long. These are 2.3 inches long, hence the Hybrid 23 and the Max 23. Okay, same thing. The Max 23 is a little bit stiffer than the Hybrid 23. The Hybrid 23 is a little bit lighter. So these are excellent field tip or long range vanes. You get a lot of clearance out of it with scope hosing, and they do a good job. I ran the Hybrid 23s a lot, and I liked them. I had no issues with them. I never really ran the Max 23s very much, because I got late to the ball game. I didn't really realize they came out with it by the time I was kind of switching around some stuff. But a couple buddies ran them, and they really liked them. So it's kind of that. Another newer one is your Boning Alpha vane and your Boning Atlas vane. Same exact profile vanes, but the only difference is the material. The Boning Alpha vane is like the same material as the Boning Heat vane. That's a very popular 3D vane. These are a little bit quieter than a handful, like the Max Stealth, a little bit quieter. They do still steer pretty good, just kind of with the different shape they got designed into them, a little bit quieter. It is a little stiffer than a Max Stealth, which is probably a little bit part of that, of why they steer a little bit better. But like a heat vane, they do have some memory to them. So they do have some memory to them. Not terrible, but I've never really messed with them as much as far as like actually getting them to deform and see how long it takes or what it takes to get them back to where they originally were. But you can crease them. So it's kind of downfall. It's like this vane, you don't need a primer pen on. The max versions, the Max Stealth, or the Max 26 technically, and the Max 23, you need a primer pen. The Hybrid 23s and the 26s, you do not need a primer pen. But this guy you will. Or no, sorry, you won't on this. It's just kind of Boning's thing, how they do them. Vice versa, whatever. But it's a good vane. I ran these on my hunting arrows last year. I'm going to run them this year. I was going to run a different vane this year on a different arrow build because I wanted to play with the current arrows I'm using. I'm really liking them. But my other arrows from last year already built. They're shooting really good, so I'm going to leave them. I think I'd be foolish just to tear them apart and rebuild another arrow for no reason. So, but they're flying really good, so I'm going to leave them. Then you got that Boning Atlas vane, which the Atlas vane is basically the same material as a Blazer vane. So you have a little less memory out of this one than you will with the Alpha vane. but they're a little flimsier, so they will flutter a little bit more in the when you shoot them. A little bit more noisy than its sibling, the Alpha Vane, but still a good Vane. I haven't really messed with these much, but they're kind of cool. I think these will be a pretty popular competition Vane. I know the Max Stealths have been pretty big in the competition world because they steer very well, they recover very fast. So, but I mean, I could see these doing some stuff in the competition, 3D target FIDA kind of stuff. Get a little better windbreak to them as crosswinds, but we've got the old school, the Boning X3 Vane, still a pretty popular Vane. This is a pretty popular Vane for a long time. There's several different sizes of these ones. This one is a 3-inch, and I think they have like a 2 or 2.5 inch, or 2 1/4 maybe. And then they have like a little guy. It's like a 1.75, which I did run those for a while on 3D. They're a good Vane. I liked them. Didn't really have any issues with them. But this is shield cut Vane. This is more of your parabolic shape. The shield cut will be a little bit louder than a parabolic. As far as like, animals hearing it and stuff. Then obviously you have your old school Blazer Vane, kind of your old do-it-all, a little bit taller profile. I think they're about a 1/2 inch high, so 0.5. They're a 2-inch Vane. Still very, like I said, still very popular. They'll steer about anything you want to put in front of them, but they're a little noisy. Other than that, I mean, they're not a bad Vane. I mean, they've been around forever for a reason, so can't really ever go wrong with them. And anywhere but any archery shop you go to, you're gonna find them. Everybody has them. So then you have your tack Vane. These are obviously pretty popular. This is a 2.25, and they have a longer version of 2.75, which I believe they're still the same height. If I believe. The 2.75 might be a little bit higher, maybe, but I think it's the same height. So these do steer broadhead very well, especially the 2.75s. But the thing I do not like about tack Vanes at all is they have a ton of memory in these things. Like, they have a lot of memory. And I've actually bought a bow, rebuilt it, because a guy couldn't get parts for it, and I had the parts. So I ended up buying it from him, rebuilt it, resold it, and I sent a dozen arrows that I fletched with these up, because that's what the guy wanted. And didn't think about it, but I had it sitting in my back of my car, going to work, and I was going to drop it off at the UPS when I got done. And for whatever reason, something ended up laying on these Vanes and through the day in my car. And of course, it was hot outside, so it didn't help anything. But all of a sudden, I get to my car, and I'm like, oh my God. They're all bent and freaked out. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to tear all these apart and redo these, right? Well, I ended up fighting with them for several hours. I mean, it was a dozen arrows, so it took me a bit. But I ended up fighting and got them really good, kind of back to where they should have been. But it was a battle. It was definitely frustrating, to say the least, especially because I was mailing them to somebody else. So that was part of it. 2 is adhesion problems. I've heard it more than once. I've had the issue with them too, which I've I think got away from the adhesion problem just with different glues, which one was this Mold Z glue by Triggered Archery. This stuff is stupid strong. Which I haven't had any peel off of that, but I've had them peel off with Max Bond glue, with this one, the AE Max Bond. I've had them peel off, and sometimes I haven't had them peel off, so it's kind of sporadic. I don't really understand it. Excuse me. But that's kind of the downfalls of these. As the other thing is, too, is their glue valleys on the bottom, where you put your glue in. The legs on the glue valley are very stiff. So when you put them on, you really got to make sure you mash that thing down. Otherwise, they aren't going to spread apart and adhere to the base of the Vane the way it should. So that's part of that. On the other note is the Vane I'm running now, and it's going to be very hard to go away from, is the DCA Mini Saber. I'm going to mess with the Super Sabers when I get them in, which I should get some this week. But This vein is very impressive, to say the least. The one thing I've noticed is they're not super stiff, but they're not super flimsy. They're kind of like a happy medium. But the number one thing I love about these veins is there is no memory in these things. Literally. I can just scratch that thing over and it goes right back to where it was. It's pretty impressive. And like when you really scrunch them over, you don't get a crease in them like you do an attack vein. I can bend this thing right over and it will show a crease. Like where you can literally see it. Like where that vein bent. The other thing is they're really light. These are like 5.7 grains as what I had on my last chance scale. So they're very light. I did a 3 fletch at 2 degrees. That's what I'm running on my 3D arrows with these. And they're very quiet. It's one thing I can't hear these veins. I ran with 3 fletch at 2 degrees. I shot a VPA non-vented 3-blade and a Grim Reaper Micro Hades, and it steered both of them very well. I shoot a Day 6 Evo X, and they kind of wanted to overpower these a little bit, which honestly, if I put the Super Sabers on there, they'll shoot really good. I about guarantee it. So on that side, the glue valleys in these are absolutely unmatched in my opinion. The way they're shaped, it's like a little cup. And when you put these on, and the legs of these are nice and flexible. But when you put these on a vein, on an arrow, it doesn't take much to get that thing to seat down. And they just they sit super nice on an arrow. And they adhere very well. You do need a primer pen. But I have had zero issues or complaints on this vein at all. And I've shot them a lot over the last couple months. And I have yet to have one peel, like off the shaft. I've yet to tear one, like hitting it with another arrow. I haven't tore one yet. Not saying it can't be done, but I've yet to do it. I've yet to get one, bent over inside of a target, when it wedges all the way in there, bury your fletches in a target. And it takes a bit, and you finally get up there, especially when you're shooting a handful of buddies. It takes a bit to go through. Everybody shoots, you get up there, and I pull an arrow out, and these things are totally fine. Like, no memory at all. And the podcast with Podium Archer, MFJJ, Josh Jones, and Brandon McDonald had a podcast with Kyle, the designer of the DCA veins. And apparently these things are made out of like the same thing you make a golf ball with, I guess, which is very interesting. And they are a molded vein. So they're very consistent as far as shape to shape and lengths. I've noticed, especially like other veins that I've used, like stamped veins, like pretty much everything else. I think pretty much everything's like a stamped vein other than like these DCAs. The UltraView vein is a molded vein. I think there's a couple, but there might be some more too. But like stamped veins, I've noticed I've had variances in length. I don't really know why, but so these are like identical veins, right? And you can see the length difference. Is it the end of the world? No, not really, but it's kind of just something that kind of just sticks out, where it's kind of like, whatever. I mean, there's like a 16th difference in there, but is it the end of the world? No. Is it ever going to make a flight difference? No. But it's just kind of that thing where it's kind of like, why are they different lengths, But obviously these are two different veins, a Hybrid 26 and a Max Stealth. But fletching with the same veins, I've noticed length differences. Some tend to be, I've had some, of veins that are 1/8 inch difference. I fletched quite a few of these already, and they're all exactly the same. I haven't noticed any that are odd lengths. So that's cool. But as an overall do-it-all vein with adhesion, durability, flight, quietness, memory, personally, I don't think you can beat this vein. You really can't. I would love. I mean, you can put your comments and post in the comments what your opinions are on these DCAs and what you honestly think beats it. I'm really interested to hear things. I'm willing to test things myself. But so far, my vote is a DCA. If you could get a Vane of the Year, this would be it. In my opinion, 100%. They're absolutely awesome. So, and if I do end up refletching my hunting arrows, it's going to have the Super Sabers on them for sure. I love this Vane, and anybody that's really coming to my shop and wanting refletched arrows, this is my recommendation right here. They fly absolutely awesome, and yeah, so hope you kind of got a little bit of information out of those with some of these other Vanes, kind of do's and don'ts maybe, and what they do good for, and durability and stuff like that. And my go-to is this guy right here, the DCA, 100%. So, hope it helps some of you out. Hope it helps some of you guys maybe make up your mind. If you want to figure out something to fletch with, try a different Vane. Try out the Mini Saber. Have a good one.